What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing well. Look, I know my setup is a little bit different now, but I did move houses recently, so I've been working to get things set up correctly how I want them. That's why I got a plain white background behind me. But as I get things situated, I'll figure out how I want to organize things, where I want to record and just from there. But for now, this is what we got to deal with. So that's what I have. Now, today is, or this weekend is, Week 7 of college football, and I feel like to start the season, Week 7 was the hyped up weekend. There were several good matches that were happening this weekend. Several ranked teams were playing each other, and we're finally here. We're finally going to have like a full day of just really great college games. That's not to say that there haven't been good college games recently, but Week 7 was just built up to be the hype weekend for this season. So I'm going to go through some of these games that are happening this weekend. Like I mentioned, there are several good ones. I know for myself, I'll be on the couch the entire day watching everything. But we're just going to talk about it and just get your opinion on where y'all think things will go, how things will happen. So the headline of this week as of right now is Oregon and Ohio State. Ohio State is ranked number 2. Oregon is ranked number 3. This should be a good game. That Ohio State defense will maybe slow down Oregon. So it'll be interesting to see how Oregon will fare. Dillon Gabriel, of course, is going to have to pass the ball a ton. I'm not sure if Jordan James, the running back for Oregon, will be able to go off like he's been doing. It'll be interesting to see. But right now, that is the top game. I believe that is College Game Day as well for this week. I'm expecting some fireworks in Oregon, Ohio State. Hopefully, it's a really good game, like I mentioned. But that one will be one to see just how things go, especially with them being 2 and 3 right now. This will be a kind of a potential college football playoff matchup later in the year. So this will be a good just test to see where things are. Now, moving on to the next game, we have South Carolina versus Alabama. Now, I know it's like South Carolina, really, but the focus on this game is more on Alabama. Now, as y'all know, Alabama is coming off a loss to Vanderbilt, which was absolutely shocking. And the previous week, Alabama beat Georgia in just an absolutely crazy game. But this week, they do have South Carolina. It'll be interesting to see if Alabama can bounce back against South Carolina. No one really expected them to, no one expected them to lose to Vanderbilt on the road last week, but Vanderbilt came to play and they did shock them with a crazy upset. So it'll be interesting to see if they can come back against South Carolina this week. I know Jalen Milroe will be ready. That defense will be ready. I'm sure Ben will be able to pull off the dub tomorrow. But it's just shocking to see what happened last week, and then it'll be interesting to see how they play this week. Now, the next game is the Red River Rivalry, which is the first one in the SEC. Now, if you're not familiar with this rivalry, it is Texas versus OU. Now, they were Big 12 schools last year. I rep Texas Tech. That's where I went to school. So I'm familiar with the rivalry. But this is the first time it is happening in the SEC. And it should be a good game. Texas has been rolling this year. I believe they're back at number 1. Yeah, Texas is number 1 right now. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. Now, of course, OU has been just okay right now. Like, they haven't been great. They still, of course, they had Dillon Gabriel last year, and he moved teams, of course, to Oregon. So it'll be interesting to see like how OU can get with Texas, like how they fare against Texas. I could not get that out correctly. And the other thing is also, I believe this is Quinn Ewers' first game back since he got hurt. Of course, Arch Manning took over for a couple weeks. We'll have to see how Quinn Ewers looks and if he can just get back rolling to where he was. I'm sure he can, but I believe he had an oblique injury, so he took like 2 or 3 weeks off. And so we'll have him back tomorrow. But it'll be good to see this game just for the first time in the SEC and just see how things fare between these two. But I expect Texas to win tomorrow. Now, the next game is Penn State and USC, which should be another good one. Look, I haven't had a chance to check out a Penn State game yet, so tomorrow will probably be my first one. But I have watched USC play this year. I watched the Michigan game when they played early this year, which came down to the wire. This one should be a good one. USC's been in a good spot right now, and of course, Penn State is just consistently good. So this will be another good matchup for tomorrow. Now, the next one is Cal versus Pitt. Once again, I haven't seen a Pitt game this year. I'm familiar with I've seen the stats for them. I know they've been putting up some crazy numbers. But Cal is coming off an absolutely brutal loss last week, and I just so happened to stay up and watch the full game. But they did lose to Miami, and I believe they were beating Miami by like 20-something points. And Cam Ward and Miami just came all the way back and beat them in the fourth quarter. There were some questionable calls. Miami probably should have lost the game, but it did happen, and Cal was just not able to pull off the dub. But we'll see how they look this week against Pitt. Hopefully another good game for them, and maybe they'll be able to pull this one out and get the upset. Now, up next, we have Florida versus Tennessee. And if y'all didn't know, Tennessee lost last week to unranked Arkansas. Tennessee had an absolute opportunity to win the game or send it to overtime, and Nico could not find an open receiver in the end zone, and just rookie mistake. Like, he's a young quarterback, so he probably doesn't know to just put it in the end zone. Hopefully now he does, but it'll be interesting once again. Same with the Alabama game, to see if Tennessee can bounce back this week against Florida. Florida's no slouch right now. They do have a decent team, so I'm sure they'll give Tennessee a run for their money, but it'll be interesting to see if Tennessee can bounce back this week. Now, the next one is one that I'm actually really interested in. We have Ole Miss versus LSU, and I say two high-powered offenses right now. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss has been going absolutely crazy passing yards-wise, and same with, I believe it's Garrett Nussmeier. I don't quote me on his name. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head right now, but two absolutely really good quarterbacks. This one should be, like I mentioned, a high-powered offensive game. It'll be interesting to see just how things play out. This one for sure I'll be watching, but I'm just curious to see just how well the offense will do. If defenses can step up and slow the other quarterback down, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see with this one. Now, the next one is Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Of course, not a ranked matchup, but Vanderbilt did just upset Alabama on their home turf, and now they have Kentucky. This one will be a good game just to see how Vanderbilt does coming off that upset. Can they be consistent and get another dub against Kentucky, or do they kind of fall back off and not what they're supposed to do? That'll be the interesting thing for this game. Not necessarily like a hype game, but just to see how Vanderbilt does coming off the upset against Alabama. Now, next we have Iowa State and West Virginia, which is a Big 12 matchup. Now, of course, you have Garrett Green for West Virginia, who's been running crazy, just been playing very well at quarterback. And, of course, Iowa State, who has been just a defensive juggernaut the past couple of years. I believe their quarterback is Rocco Bella or something like that. It's Rocco B, but he's been playing well as well. This one will be a good matchup in the Big 12. Of course, the Big 12 is just all over the place this year, so it'll be interesting to see how this one fares. And then last one, again, is another Big 12 matchup. This one does start later in the day. This is K-State and Colorado. Colorado coming off a bye week this past week, so they should be well rested and ready to go for K-State. K-State has Avery Johnson at quarterback, DJ Giddens at running back, so that'll be an interesting one to see. Of course, with Colorado defense, they've been slowly getting a little bit better, but K-State runs the ball a ton, and Avery Johnson can pass the ball if he needs to. So it'll be interesting to see if Colorado's defense can slow down K-State. And, of course, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter on the other side of the ball. Well, Travis plays both sides, but having them on the offensive side, can they continue just that hot streak that they've been on offense? Of course, Travis Hunter has been putting up some crazy numbers at wide receiver. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that going, or if he kind of falls back off a little bit. I don't know, but that'll be a night game. That'll be an interesting one to see. Now, overall, that is all of the matches for tomorrow. Like I said, it's going to be a good day just to sit on the couch and relax all day. But I think Ohio State and Oregon will be a really good game. Ole Miss and LSU will be a really good game as well. And then, like I mentioned, I rep Texas Tech. So from the Big 12 perspective, it'll be interesting to see K-State and Colorado as well. But I'm just ready for some good college football. So let me know what matchup y'all are ready for tomorrow. If you plan on watching any college football, who's your team, just so forth and so on, what you're ready to see tomorrow. But as always, I do appreciate y'all for stopping in, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.